Erev Tov, and we're here in the weeks of the month of Elul. And obviously, when we're talking about the months of Elul, we're talking about the preparation, the days of preparation for the high holidays, for Rosh Hashanah, the new Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the Day of Return to Hashem. One of the major things that we do during this month, it says that Anshe Maise, people people that are practical, actual people, Anshe Maise, people of action. We check our mezuzahs and our tefillin in honor of the new year and during the month of Elul, preferably during the month of Elul. By the way, if a person, for some reason, didn't make it in the month of Elul to check, it's permissible to do it already also after the month of Elul, as long as the work gets done. As long as the mezuzahs are checked and the tefillin are checked, that's the main thing. And Bezrat Hashem, everyone should be able to have this done. The mivtzah of checking the mezuzahs is an extension of the mitzvah of the mivtzah. Yeah, the mitzvah campaign that the Rebbe has instructed us in regard to making sure that every single one of our doorposts should have a kosher mezuzah, and this is something that sometimes requires an eye that has experience with halacha, a rabbi or a shliach or a person that has experience in mitzvah mezuzah, the mezuzah mitzvah campaign, and therefore our story tonight is also going to be connected with the mezuzahs and the kashrut, the idea of putting up a mezuzah on our doorpost. But before we get to the story, since we have the ability and the zchus, the merit of going and bringing about simcha, bringing about happiness and joy and entertainment for the entire class during the month of Elul. So we'll play and we'll sing one or two songs in honor of the new year, beginning with the customary nigun of Avinu Malkeinu, as sung by Chabad. Can everyone hear the guitar? Nod if you can. Okay. Hey, I la da la da da my da 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 la da la da ma 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 la da la da ma 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 la da da ma ya da Avinu Malkeinu ein lo Mateva Lishon Mateva Masuka Siva Vachasi Mateva Lishon Mateva Siva Vachasi Mateva Lishon Mateva teva, l'shana teva, mesuka, eksiva, v'chasima teva, l'shana teva, eksiva, v'chasima teva, l'shana teva, mesuka, eksiva, v'chasima teva, teva, mesuka, eksiva, v'chasima teva, l'shana teva, mesuka. No, Baruch Hashem. You could hear everyone applauding in the background. Everyone's on mute, so you can't hear everyone applauding. Nevertheless, we're going on with our story. The story goes back some quite many years ago in the city of Lyon in France. There we have a Jewess, a Jewish young lady that's starting her studies in college in Lyon. And this is not only the beginning of her studies in college, but it turns out to be the beginning of her encounter with her own Judaism as well. She became close with the shliach in Lyon, Rabbi Shmuel Gurevich, and being that she did not live in the area, so weekends, Shabbos, Friday nights, she used to be a regular guest by the Gureviches, and that's what began her becoming closer and closer to Torah, to mitzvahs, and she became very close with the Rebbetzin Gurevich over there. But nevertheless, as close as she was at heart, when it came to actions, in other words, actual observances of mitzvahs, it would be a slow process, to say the least. She began to observe one mitzvah, but then it took quite a time until she graduated to the next mitzvah. And when a time passed by, a period of time passed on, so Rebbetzin Gurevich decided to introduce to her name Perla Cohen, to introduce her with the mitzvah of mezuzah. Every Jewish doorpost, every Jewish home, and every doorpost should have a mezuzah, besides the toilet, the bathroom, the shower. And she was quick to say, "Fine, it sounds right. I'm Jewish. I have a little studio apartment. I should put a mezuzah on my door." And she received the mezuzah, and the shliach helped her to put it on with a blessing at the appropriate place where it's supposed to be, appropriate height, the appropriate angle, and this is how she began to have a mezuzah on the doorpost of her home. 2 weeks went by, and she had Jewish girlfriends coming over, and they noticed that she has a mezuzah, and they told her, "Listen, we don't want to say anything wrong, but a single Jewish young lady living here in Lyon, right, and with a mezuzah on her front door, which is basically marking her as a Jew, it doesn't sound too safe as far as her girlfriends were involved." And this was the girlfriend's opinion, and regardless of the fact that she really wanted to have the mezuzah initially, the precautions, the security precautions, gave her a different feeling, and she unfortunately removed the mezuzah from her doorpost. Fine. What are we going to do? It's her freedom to choose. Well, the next day she comes up to her apartment, and she sees that there is a note on her door. What does the note say? The note says that there was a package that was delivered to her by the post office, and apparently she wasn't home. And the neighbor from upstairs was gracious enough to accept the package, and he told the postman that he would notify the person that lives there that the package is by him. She went upstairs, knocked on the door, and an elderly man, about 70 years old, opened the door, and she explained that she's here for the package, and he smiled and he said, yes, definitely. He went, brought the package. She received the package. She said, thank you. He said, you're welcome. And as she's going out of the door of this man's apartment, so the man says, Shalom, in Hebrew. And she was a little shocked. She turns around and she looks at him, and she says, did you say Shalom? And he says, yes. He says, are you Jewish? And he says, yes, I am. He says, wow, unbelievable. She didn't know that there are any Jews that are living in this apartment house, in this building. And then the elderly man says, if you have a moment, I would like to ask you something. And she said, sure, fine. What would you like? So he said, I would like to know the reason that you took the mezuzah down from your doorpost. And she was like, what? Like, how does he know about my mezuzah in the first place? It was only up for 2 weeks. And second of all, why is it so relevant for him that I took my mezuzah down? He doesn't look like an observant Jew. He looks far from being an observant Jew. So why is he asking me this? And he says, listen, he saw that she was startled. I'll explain myself. And he says, 30 years ago, in the Holocaust, all his family was devoured by the Germans, Yimach Shemam, in Nazi Germany. And because of this, he came to the conclusion that he wants to get as far away as possible from anything that even had a fragrance, an odor, a smell of Judaism. And he looked for a place on the map. He was living then in France. He decided to go as far as Lyon. Then Lyon was pretty far. It's like a beachfront city, and it's very far away from. Then it was very far away from anything Jewish, and he felt protected. He decided to leave everything, all the Judaism behind. He explained that he didn't keep kosher, and there was no Yom Kippur, there was no Shabbos, there was no Tefillin, no nothing. And that's the way it was. That's the way it was for 30 years. Until one day, he comes into the apartment building, and he sees that the elevator is out of order. Out of order, what are you going to do? He has to go home. So he starts climbing the staircase. Goes one floor, second floor. He comes to the fifth floor. Fifth floor was where Perla Cohen lived. And as he comes to the fifth floor, he looks and he sees something that he hasn't seen for 30 years. He sees a mezuzah on the doorpost of one of the apartments. And he says at this point, he steps up to the mezuzah, he kisses the mezuzah, and he starts shedding tears. He starts crying because the mezuzah brought back all his childhood memories and everything that he remembered from home about Judaism, about Hashem, about God, about the Torah. And from that day on, as miraculous as it sounds, he stopped using the elevator. And he used the stairs. And he came up every time to the fifth floor, and he would stand next to the mezuzah, and he would caress the mezuzah with his hand, and he felt that he's returning back to Hashem. He's returning back to God, and it gave him a very special feeling. And then one day, as he's going up the staircase to his mezuzah, he sees that someone took his mezuzah down, and and he's like totally broken. He can't understand what is going on here. Who took my mezuzah down? And then the postman came, and he was looking for you at home, and you weren't home, and I offered to go and to deliver the package to you. And this is my story. Whatever it means to you, I mean, take it or leave it. But this is my personal story. And from that day on, so the Hasidic community in Lyon gained 2 new followers, very, very, very staunch followers. One was Miss Perla Cohen, who, by the way, today is married and has established a Chabad Hasidic family and already has grandchildren. And the other one was in those days, his name was Mr. Avraham Londelt. And this is what the many concepts, the many ideas, the many things that all have to do with putting a mezuzah up on one's doorpost. It's the greatest security, it's the greatest insurance policy that a person can have. It guards the person inside our home and outside, wherever we go in the world, wherever we fly, wherever we walk, wherever. It's guarding us, it's watching over us. The main thing is we have to make sure that it's a kosher mezuzah and it's affixed to the right place. But at the same time, we don't even realize how much our mezuzah on our doorpost is doing. It's coming and it's bringing Jews close to Hashem. It's bringing Jews back to Yiddishkeit. It's reminding Jews that they're Jews. And by every single mitzvah, as we've many times told in our stories, in our classes, by one single mitzvah, one action, one good utterance of speech, one good thought about another Jew, this is the ability that every single one of us has to tilt the scales and to immediately bring the Geula Shleima V'Amitis, the true and the complete redemption, with the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach, and it should be Teichef Umiyad Mamesh, immediately now. Yechi Adonenu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach Le'elam Voed, and Aksiva V'Chasima Teva Lashana Teva Umesuka. Everyone should be written and inscribed for a good and sweet year. Mashiach now.